Right, we shall carry on then. Where were we? Parable 9, Luke 12:42 to 48. The faithful and wise servant. And the Lord replied, and Yahweh, or Yah, or Yahusha replied, don't get caught in the name game. And if you can't have a Lord if you're free. You're it, people. Okay? It's not outside you. A faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. Are you being fed? Are you chewing the cud like a clean animal and parting the hoof to go your own way? The narrow path. You know, the narrow path for individuals, because only you can fit on it. Chew the cud, people. Don't be like a swine with your head in the trough, eating shit and swallowing it whole, never considering what it's eating. But if you're here to chew the cud. And if you're a swine, you'll fuck off anyway, because this won't make any sense to you, because you simply will not get it if you're a swine. Consciousness. If the master returns and finds that the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. I tell you the truth. The master will put that servant in charge of all he owns. It's this. I own this. Don't worry, I don't own anything else. This is my eating iron. It's a fork. I can't own it. I merely have the use of it for a limited period of time. Like I own this. And I can have the use of it for a limited period of time in this physical manifestation. But I can take it with me into the metaphysical, Merkaba, mind, body, spirit, light chariot. But what if the servant thinks my master won't be back for a while, and he begins beating the other servants, partying and getting drunk? Isn't that like what's happened in this world? You've got all these worldly wise leaders. You know, they're wise about the physical things, but not the metaphysical. And they were supposed to guide humanity. Does it look like they've guided humanity onto the narrow path? Or have they made a wide path for the masses? The master will return unannounced and unexpected, and he will cut the servant in pieces and banish him with the unfaithful. Keep watch. That's the entire point of watching, is to see that. You can actually physically witness it and, metaphysically witness it. It happens in here. And a servant who knows what the master wants, but isn't prepared and doesn't carry out those instructions, will be severely punished. But someone who does not know and then does something wrong will be punished only lightly. Now, I've referred to this in other videos, so I know this truth. So it's my responsibility as a servant to let others know and to take nothing for it. Is to give them, to explain the simple instructions so they can respond. So when you have the simple knowledge, you then have a responsibility to respond. And if you don't, well, that's your call. That's none of my business. But if there's something that you didn't know because it's been hidden from you, then you'll get jostled. If you make a mistake because you wasn't aware, it's like your dad kind of comes along and says, "What are you doing?" Kind of kicks you in the butt. You get jostled about. And I've mentioned this in other videos. Happens to me. Happens all the time. And it's to usher you along, to ensure you make progress. Because the mind is a fickle thing. It'll just stand there and go, well, I've got this far and I'm pretty comfortable. Yeah, I'm okay. Because that's what the mind does. It's a bit of a knob. But then along comes the spirit, consciousness, and says, oh, no. Starts pushing you, jostles you about, upsets you. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, I best start moving. It's for your own good. When someone has been given much, much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted with much, even more will be required. You know, there are some days when I'm like, man, do I really have to explain this? And the answer is yes, I have a duty to. I have been given, it's a responsibility. So I do it. And I do it happily, actually. But the mind's like, oh, but I don't want to do that today. There's other things I want to do. You'll get away with that for a while. And then you start to feel, man, people need to know this stuff. So, it's a relationship with consciousness. I received it freely. Well, okay. So I give it freely. The more I give, the more I receive. And so on and so on. It's a feedback loop. So, but a lot will be asked of you. And this is where the difficulty is, because, I don't know, you might be a very successful individual. You might have, all the trappings of modern life. But the spirit will start to push you to start rejecting those things. And your mind will be like, wow, this stuff used to be really good. I used to like this, and now I don't. Your taste will change. Your focus will change. All those things that you've accrued and gathered unto yourself, it becomes worthless dross. And you just start letting go of it. And it's not just the physical things, it's relationships, all that kind of, it just drops away. It has to. And the more you try to cling to it, refusing to let go, like a man who's holding on to his canoe in the rapids. He's holding on to it and he's holding on to the canoe, but a meter away from him is the banks of the river. If you let go of the canoe, you can reach out to the bank of the river. This is about consciousness. It's not about physical shit, which comes and goes. Consciousness doesn't. It is the alpha and the omega. It is the first and the last.